events that have kind of come across the wire and across the radar for certain things throughout the year. And this being a December event is coming into sort of our off season during that time period. From my understanding, these are single boats. These are not teams. You know, these people, they're not going to be interacting for in the boating piece itself. And with logistics, with 40 rowing participants, this is a far lower number than the swim event, which we had a lot of back and forth on back in September. So you're looking at a much smaller scale event that has a very different demographic, and I think a more dedicated approach to social distancing and providing a reasonable number of participants for an event like this, especially in the December timeframe.
Any other, I see Wade is here. Thank you for joining us. Are there any other, any questions or any other discussion by any council members?
My only comment after reading the material is that I really don't see how we can keep other boaters off the lake, or we could, you know, we could advise that this is going to be going on and that we could would want them to be courteous and limit their wakes, try to observe no wake, but I don't think we can make them do that. What do you think, Dean? You're muted.
I agree. I agree with you, John. I think that was my biggest hiccup with the whole thing. If people want to get out there, we can't really prevent them from doing it. They pay to get out there as well.
Yeah.
So
I really don't think it would be a problem in December.
I don't think they're going to have much of anybody out there unless they're people just really wanting to watch.
Yeah. Go ahead, Wade.
Yeah, and no wake in that time of year in the off season. No wake is from what, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah, it could be. You know, if it's a nice December day, early in December, I don't know if you'd have many people. I think if it's a nice December day, usually people will take an afternoon ride if they have family in town. I think y'all have hit the market. It's a good time of year for something like this. That you're not going to have a lot of early morning boat traffic, I don't think.
Wade, you had a comment?
I was just going to respond. I understand, and what I would wonder if maybe we could even, maybe put up a sign or before the event, just make people aware that things are going on. Who we really see out there early in the day, who I get to see all the time, are the fishermen. And perhaps if we just said, hey, is there any way you can get where you're going in between, this such and such a time, try to minimize your movement, get on out on the lake. And then once the boats come by, and in truth, it's a 15-minute window where people really need to be stationary in any part of the lake. Everybody else will move, the boats will move by fairly quickly and be on to another area. So it's just, if we can just, simply have a sign out there saying, hey, by the way, that would be great. Other than that, I really don't think there'll be a lot of traffic out there. So thank you.
Thank you, Wade. Any other questions or observations or discussion?
Mayor, I've got one. So are our first responders going to be out there monitoring this thing? Like fire department and the police boat?
Yeah, yes, sir, they will.
Okay, is there did we establish a mechanism for reimbursement of their time when they go out and do that?
Not to my knowledge. That would be something we'd have to refer to Chief Humphreys or Chief Waycaster to see if they've put something in place for their reimbursements.
Yeah, because we remember we set that standard that if our first responders are out there and we're paying them overtime, that's an expenditure from the town that we have to account for. So right. Let's close the loop on that, Dean, if you would, just to make sure we're in good standing there.
Okay.
I don't think we're talking about a whole lot, but it is a standard that we've set.
One possibility could be that if you chose to approve today, you could do it contingent upon the event owner to cover the cost relative to those departments.
Yeah.
If that was the only issue, I'd offer that up as a possible decision to keep things moving forward.
Are there any other concerns on anyone's part other than the reimbursement of fire and police?
Yeah, where did John Kilby go? Did we drop him?
Is he gone?
I have
Yeah.
not seen him on here.
He was on when I first signed in.
I did see his picture at first. I don't see it now.
Yeah.
He might have lost his internet.
His internet over there is a little sketchy.
Yeah, we do have a quorum still since David Diorio has joined. So
Yeah.
even though we certainly missed Commissioner Kilby being on the call, we still do have a quorum if you want to have a vote today.
Mayor, I have one just final thing. I think this is taken care of, but I'll ask the question anyway. The only thing that caught my eye was the beach party. And in phase 3, state of North Carolina limits outdoor activities, non-athletic, to 50 persons. And I'm just wondering how, Patrick, you may be able, and Wade may be able to chime in. Are you going to meet the intent of the state regulation for the parties on the beach?
I can't hear.
Patrick or Dane, either of you?
There we go. Hello, so sorry.
Okay, great.
That was something that Wade and I we have not fully discussed yet. Some of that is probably going to be predicated on what the next phase of pieces could look like. It is limited to 50 people at this time, but I think it's something that is worth note in the initial itinerary. And then if that particular portion has to be amended or rescinded based on what's going on with current regulations, we can. But I think overall the event itself can be a good boost, and it's a great demographic for our community to reach as well.
Yeah, I just want to be careful, and
Yep,
and I sent
absolutely.
a little note to Wade too. He's aware of it. Not quite sure how many people they're going to have for the beach party, but I think it's just there's a way that beach is big, and we're not talking thousands of people. I think there's a way to do that. I just would keep that in mind, that we don't bust the spirit of the state regulation if we do have that event. I think it can be done safely. I think, Patrick, if anyone knows based on the summer of how to run the beach, you guys do. But I just bring that up, that we don't want to, have the appearance of having this huge party on the beach while phase 3 kind of, discourages that.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. May I make a comment?
Yes, Wade, go ahead.
The hope on that actually was to kind of engage the people in what's going on, and with the Light Up Lake Lure, kind of the holiday season and sort of the festivities. And it had been I had heard that there was conversations about having bonfires and that kind of stuff in the evenings, and I thought if we could do the whole point is to engage people in the Lake Lure area, introduce them to it, and really try to show them what a great place it is to be, even in the winter. So whatever modification we need to make to help that happen is really just to be welcoming to the group. That's all.
Yeah, and I think you can do that. I think even if you had 100 people, if you just kind of spread them out on the beach there and maybe collect in a couple of areas would meet the intent. I just don't want to see 200 people talking to each other and, kind of busting the intent there on the beach, because Wade, we've actually shut down an athletic event. We've done things here for all the right reasons. And I don't want to set all those precautions aside. I think on the water is not a big deal. During the race, not a big deal. You've got, just by the nature of it being outside in the boats, I think you're covered. But the beach party is a little different. It's a little different animal.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Madam Mayor, if I may add, another condition that you may want to add to the approval would be to comply with state regulations in effect at that time relative to the pandemic.
Well, and I think that's something that's going to be germane, whatever event we're talking about. Things may change. We're at 3 now, phase 3.
Yeah.
It could change. We could go lower. So
Right.
that would be something that is just would have to be factored in. And Wade, I'm sure you can appreciate that. We would have no control over that. So if in fact the data support they're reducing the phase 3 to where it is, that could mean some constraints placed on the event.
Yep.
We
Any
certainly,
other-
we certainly are going to be flexible this year. So
I think we've all learned that flexible and unpredictable is the word for 2020. Any other discussion or questions for Wade or for Dean? If there's not, is there at this time interest in a motion to approve? Or do we require more, do you require more time to consider this?
I personally think I'm in a good position with this particular event, knowing that, you know, these are individual rowers. You know, as long as there's an understanding of the contingent that the beach party has to just conform to regulations, I think the rest of it really hits the mark. You know, the Executive Order 141 had initial information about athletic events, and it falls within those guidelines. And phase 3 also just kind of reiterated those pieces, and it looks like they've laid out a very well executed, simple one-day event, not a large multifunction full weekend of activities that can be much more difficult to achieve. So
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, I think I read here it was December 5th and 6th. So was it one day
yes.
or 2?
Wade, could you give us a little update on that?
yeah, the initial plan was a one-day regatta. What I was modeling after is an event that I'm actually participating in this weekend, which is the only race so far of the year over in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. And what they did was, because people haven't been able to travel or participate in competition, they went and made it a 2-day event. And just kind of a fun thing. And it keeps people in the area a little bit there. Just as an FYI, I mean, they're trying to recoup costs and cover themselves too. Generally, the Oak Ridge Rowing Club contributes between $4 and $5 million a year to the Oak Ridge community. So obviously this year it's been a pretty difficult loss for them over the as well. So they were trying to capture, and I thought it might be great for us as well if we could encourage people to come to town and maybe spend an extra night, get another day of racing in. So that was kind of the idea. It'd be this pretty much. What they have in Oak Ridge is a diminishing number. So you've got, you know, X amount of people on Saturday, probably 20% less on Sunday. But that was the hope. And again, we can go to one day if that's the preference.
I just wanted to make sure, because we were talking about one day, and it does state here in the proposal 2 days. So I want to make sure you're all on the same plane.
Yep. Sorry, Madam Mayor, my mistake.
No, that's perfectly all right. Does that make, is that a germane to anyone else who's on the council, that it's 2 days rather than 1 as you make this decision?
I'll go ahead and make the motion that we have recommended here. It says, I'll move that we approve the request from Lake Lure Racing and Rowing Retreats for a rowing regatta event to be held on Lake Lure December 5th and 6th, 2020. And waive the boat permit requirements for all participants in the event, with the understanding that the town will be reimbursed for expenses connected with monitoring and providing safety at the event.
And within the constraints. Do you want to add, John, about the COVID within the constraints, which might be COVID constraints, which could be imposed by the governor?
Right. And within the constraints that are in effect at the time imposed by the governor.
Okay. I will second that motion. Oh,
Okay.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Then the motion is approved. Thank you very much, Wade.
Thank you.
We look forward to it. I think our next agenda item is to discuss and consider the use of electronic surfboards on the lake. Dean, would you like to take point on this?
Yeah, thank you. Last year, I was contacted by phone of somebody that was interested in buying I don't know what the correct term is, but it is a powered surfboard, paddleboard, whatever, it's electric powered. And you stand on this thing or sit on it and you ride across the lake. It lifts up out of the water. I think there's a lot of name brands out there now, but I don't know what the technical term of the exact craft would be. And I brought this before the LAB, and when the LAB looked at it, you can see in your under staff comments and recommendations of the LAB's talking about it. They felt like the lake use regulations solely prohibit the use of this. The definition of the lake use regulations includes any type of vessel that you sit, stand, or kneel on that you do not sit in a traditional manner of a boat is considered a personal watercraft and is prohibited. And I don't remember how long ago, it's been a few months ago, I received a phone call from who I believe is Mr. Charles Keith Marshall. And he had asked me about the lake use regulations and were they allowed, and I explained to him that they were prohibited and that this had been before the Lake Advisory Board in the past. And so it is not that it was not a prohibited vessel. Well, we had some discussion, and since then, here within just the past few weeks, we've had reports of one being out on the lake. I did get the police officers to go out and talk to the gentleman, have it removed. It ended up, from what I understand, was this Mr. Keith, and that board was removed from the lake at the time. And now we've received this letter from Miss Walters requesting, I guess, for these electric boards, whatever, to be permissible on the lake.
Is any other questions of Dean or any other observations, discussion by the commissioners?
I wasn't at that Lake Advisory meeting, but I did make some notes here, things that concern me. And as far as the wake surfing board that has a motor on it, that I've seen those things operate, and it just doesn't look dangerous to me. I think if they could operate within primarily the no wake zone, I don't see how it would be a problem, but I could be missing something. That's why I mentioned I was not at that meeting. I think a bigger issue for us is the wake surfing behind the boats with all the extra ballast in them that make tremendous waves. I think that's much more of an issue. I think that if we're gonna, the other notes that I made was I don't think this should be something that we would allow to be a livery vessel that we would allow folks to put in their rental programs. But if we did decide that we weren't going to do them, I think we should do something like we did with the jet skis and give it some date up in the spring when we would be the, if you didn't have one by then, you couldn't have one, but we would allow some grandfathering for folks that have spent this kind of money. And I would have thought they were legal, without having someone show me where it wasn't. It looked like to me like just a stand-up paddleboard with a motor on it, or a kayak with a motor on them. And I guess with all the advances in batteries and so forth, this kind of thing was maybe inevitable. But
This is Shelby here. I'm back. I had to come to town hall. I apologize for all the problems. So.
okay, we're talking about, John, about the wake surf, not the wake surfing, but the paddle boards with the motors.
Okay.
And
One thing,
since you're the advisor or the liaison to the Lake Advisory Board, I guess I should probably yield to you.
Okay. Well, did Dean give the summary of how we got to where we did with LAB?
He did.
He did.
He did.
Okay.
I'd just like to add one of the things to piggyback off of what Commissioner Moore said was them maybe staying in the no wake zone. My research on these boards show these things go up to about 25 miles per hour. I've got a pontoon boat on the lake that's got a 115 on it that won't run but 22 miles an hour. So these things could actually pace or outpace some of the boats out in the lake. So just wanted everybody to understand that these aren't little slow boards that just ease through the water. These things kind of move and they're agile like a jet ski or a personal watercraft.
Well, I apologize that I had the issue and out there and didn't get to hear all the conversation that's there. Is it appropriate that I just give my opinion at this point?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, and I don't know if I repeat what Dean has already said, I apologize. But LAB spent a lot of time on this and with a lot of research by a lot of the different members of the LAB. And the unanimous decision by the LAB was not to allow these on the lake for the reasons that Dean just talked about, the speed that they have. I mean, I just can't, with all the kayaks, stand-up paddle boards, all the things that we've got now that are non-motorized, I can't imagine that we would open this up for these motorized apparatus, if that's what you call it. Everybody would want to have one. I don't know how, I think someone said maybe they cost about, is it $12,000?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd say there's a lot of people on this lake that wouldn't stop them from wanting to have one. From a safety standpoint, and Dean said they run 25. I've heard maybe that they'll run in excess of even 25. And so it was a consent, unanimous, decision of the LAB that we in no way wanted to consider to allow these on Lake Lure. We keep going back to the fact that we, really and truly, we've got a pond. As Dean said, I've got a pontoon with a 50 horsepower Honda, and if I can get over 20 miles an hour, that's pretty amazing, isn't it? So, I guess I certainly wouldn't think that we would make any decision today and go against what the LAB decided based on all the research that they did.
Any other opinions? Any other observations? Any other commissioners would like to add?
Mayor, I would just add fuel to the argument here. So we're really talking about motorized personal watercraft. That's what we're talking about. And I don't know how that we allow one class of motorized personal watercraft on the lake without opening the door to other types and more innovative types as you come forward. My personal feeling is until we know more, we ought to keep that barn door closed, because once we open it, we're going to open ourselves up to all these arguments about why this, that, the other motorized personal watercraft ought to be or not be on the lake. And I don't think our lake use model has been assessed for that. I think we've already got an issue where people think, especially this year, which was an amazing year for people operating on the lake and some relative close calls that we know about. I just don't think we either know enough or should open that door at this point. That's my view.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Diorio. Patrick, do you have anything that you wanted to add?
I'm sorry, who did you say?
Of course.
Did you, Madam Mayor? Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. You know, with there is one person watercraft that's grandfathered in on the lake, but a lot of the pandemic, you have a lot of visitors who, when you watch the social media about of our homeowners on the lake, there's a lot of chatter about lake use violations, and it's already an issue. And I think we need to erring on the side of caution until we can get a handle on some of these things can be very important. And this winter, we're going to have to do some good strategic planning for what we need to look at in 2021 to ensure safety on the lake. We've had several, some fairly serious issues that have come to light in the Marine Commission that we're still working through. And before we take a step forward on these specialized watercraft, I think we need to finalize some of the big things that have already come to light, and then talk further about what the best lake use model looks like for our community.
Okay, is there anything else anyone else would like to add? If not, do I hear a motion?
We're going to leave it like it is for now. We really don't need a motion.
All right.
I don't.
All right, then in that case, we will leave it that there is no recommended motion at this time, in which case it will remain under the category of jet skis, which is, I believe, where it is now. Is it not, Dean?
Yes.
Which are prohibited.
Yeah.
Right.
Watercraft.
Watercraft. All right. So in that case, that's the way we'll leave it, and there is no change in its categorization, and that completes that particular item. That is actually the last item that we have on our for our Marine Commission today. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second. I'll
All in
second.
favor? All
Aye.
in favor? Then we
Aye.
stand, then we're not going to, actually, we are adjourned.